All right. Let me ask you, because this is a personal red flag of mine,
Okay.
and I want your read on this because it has nothing to do with almost anything. It's just a random red flag. So, and this doesn't have to be on the podcast. I just want to know your opinion on this.
Okay.
Guys that tuck their ears into their baseball cap. Huge, huge red flag for me.
Red flag. Red flag. I agree. Yeah, red flag.
Yeah. Like, I've never seen a guy that tucks his ears into his baseball cap where I'm like, that's a guy that should have kids.
Testosterone, we have a problem.
This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys grow their bromance,
Non-toxic bromance.
their non-toxic bromance, by exploring masculinity, manosphere culture, and joy in the stupidest timeline.
Join us.
Welcome to Outside the Manosphere. I'm Skip.
And I'm Carlos.
Our main topic for the day is Inside the Manosphere. But first, it is our first episode of Season 2. What's the deal with Season 2, Carlos?
Season 2, we have, we haven't abandoned our love questions because we've completed them. So now we need a new topic, and our topic is red flags, danger, and red flags regarding male behavior. You know, if you notice certain patterns in people, and there's plenty of documentation of that kind of thing. So we're going to be discussing how that relates to our own behavior, how that relates to people around us, what we've seen in ourselves and others, and what to look for if you're interested in men. No,
All
or
right.
not even, if you just have men in your life, like that's notice red flags in their behavior.
Well, even though our love questions are complete, I'll still always love you, Carlos.
Hey, right back at you, babe.
I'm wondering, what's your news item for the week?
My news item for the week is local news that directly relates to me. It'll be very, very brief, but I will be joy heavy at the end of this, so I'll make up for my brevity here. And I haven't got an official email yet, but I saw in the news that our paramedic contract for the union that we're in is 2 years expired, and they've been negotiating for 2 years. And so now they've reached a tentative agreement. It's got to be voted on. And that means a pay bump, and that means back pay for the time that everyone's been working without contract. So very exciting.
Badass.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. That's almost a joy item, but it seems kind of gross to talk about money in that in that respect. But
Go
yes.
unions. That's good.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
need money. They got to live.
I agree. So anyway, that's my news item. It's very specific, very local, but it is news. What about you?
So mine is also, it was going to be one of my choice, but I'm going to use it for the news item. This weekend, or I guess by the time people listen to this, a few weekends ago, there was a massive protest in the Czech Republic that I got to go to, between 200,000 and 250,000 people. So like 500,000 or 250,000 people at a big park. And it was against the government moving towards, there was quite a lot of things, but to sum it up briefly, the government moving towards kind of this autocratic tendency that Slovakia and Hungary have gone to with Viktor Orban and Hungary and so on. And people really showed up. I mean, that's like close to 1/6 of the population of Prague. So it was very heartwarming to see people show up in that way. And it's a good sign. It's a sign of health amidst the disease, as I said to one friend of mine in the US, who I was just sharing some photos and like very calm, some people singing and things like that, and speeches. And he said it made his heart do little flips to see people coming out and doing that stuff, because it's so stressful in the day to day sometimes with all the things going on in the world, that it's good to see a whole bunch of people get together and do something that strikes a chord, says something about what people are or aren't going to allow. And we often get focused on the politics in the US, but like there's people trying to do the same stuff in other countries, like here in the Czech Republic.
Well, in the Czech Republic, historically, they're known for their sort of peaceful protest with like the whole Velvet Revolution that I wouldn't say toppled the communist government, but I think it was already in the works, but there was no violence, and it was a complete revolution, and it was just with, calm protest. There wasn't people like, I mean, sometimes you're going to be dragged out, by police or whatever, but like this was, they're known for just kind of peacefully being. What park was that in?
It was in Letna, which
Okay.
is just a gorgeous park. And there's a beer garden that overlooks the city. Great view. So it was a lovely day all around. And then we walked down the hill from Letna into the city and had some dinner afterwards and made a nice day of it, showing the kids some civic responsibility.
All right, Skip. Well, as our first red flag we're going to discuss, we've got something called emotional avoidance or emotional shaming. That's basically a man who mocks vulnerability or tells others to quote unquote man up. They discourage healthy emotional expression. And they create an environment where feelings are suppressed instead of communicated. First thoughts on that? Just hot seat.
Yeah, it definitely strikes a chord. I think this is something that is highly problematic. It's also something though that I see like a certain amount in myself, and that I like part of me wants to push back a little bit and say like we can't be super emotional all the time over every little thing. But like I think where this question is coming from is from just like even mostly shutting down these vulnerable feelings or expressions or things like that. And I want to be real clear, like that's something that is very bad.
Some examples here would be mocking people for showing sadness, fear, vulnerability, saying things like that's weak or stop being dramatic, man up, that kind of thing. It often leads to unhealthy communication or bottled resentment. I think if I can give a personal example.
Yeah, go for it.
But I'm sorry, don't mean to completely interrupt you here. I remembered, I've talked about it way early on in the beginning of this of our show here. When I was 20, I was 23, and a love of mine died in a car accident, and I was just, I mean, as distraught as a person can be when someone they care about dies. And I remember I was living with my grandmother at the time because I was going to college down in South Texas, and man, I was just crying all the time and just the worst you can imagine a person being. That's how I was. And I remember one time I was, my grandmother was sitting on her bed, and I was close to my grandmother. I mean, she wasn't super affectionate or anything or like loving. She didn't pet me or anything like that. But like I was by myself with her, and my grandfather, forget it. Like I wasn't going to open up to him. But I remember walking in and just like breaking down and just like, I remember I was on my knees and like had my head on her bed, just sobbing. I couldn't, it was really, really new. And she had no idea what to do. And she's not a man, but she was like, "Oh, that's okay. Don't cry. Don't cry." But she didn't get up.
Right.
She didn't touch me. She didn't hug me. She didn't rub my back. Nothing. And I think that even though that's she's not a man, that's what we're talking about here. She was not equipped to comfort my extreme display of emotion. You know what I mean? Where all I needed was someone to be near. You know what I mean? And I think that's a really, really good example of just somebody who'd been, and I mentioned my grandmother before. She had been kind of emotionally cut off from my grandfather because he wasn't like a great husband. And I didn't even realize this example was coming. But when I was describing this whole thing, that's the first thing that popped in my head. Yeah, that's that led to just emotional bottlenecking. She didn't know what to do. And it's such a basic thing. I wasn't a child, but I was a child to her. You know what I mean? I was a kid to her, and she didn't know how to respond to that. Yeah. So anyway, that's emotional avoidance. She wasn't shaming me or anything, but she didn't know what to do. And left an impression on me.
Yeah, no, obviously. And I love that term, emotional bottlenecking. That's like a really clever way to describe it. I don't know if you came up with that or heard somewhere else.
That's trademark me.
It's good. It's a good one. I mean, I think, it's of a different generation too, right? Like, so it's not just a masculine, feminine thing. There's kind of an older generation, a younger generation. I always said like, that my dad came from Texas, from not a major city, from like a little city called Burke Burnett, where everybody had the same first 3 digits in their phone number,
Yeah.
And I always talked about growing up like the Texas School of Medicine. It's just walk it off, and the Texas School of Swimming's just like push you in the water and you better learn to swim. And like there's just kind of like there's some regional stuff. There's a lot of places where this is a lot of places and times and people where this is more prevalent from. But I even last night, me and my wife were exhibiting this behavior a little bit. We weren't putting it on to anybody because we were watching TV and we were talking to the TV. So it wasn't like toxic. And our kids weren't there, so they weren't hearing it. But we were watching the Traders show where people lie and you vote people off and stuff. And this guy, big boxer guy, he had led the charge to get somebody out. He thought it was a traitor. And then after the vote, the guy turned out not to be a traitor.
Oh, I know who. I know. Yeah, I've watched like all the seasons. So
Oh,
I know
yeah.
exactly, yeah.
And then he was like sitting on the couch crying.
Yeah.
And Jess and I were both just like, man up, man. It's a game. Like, get over it. You did something bad and now you're feeling bad for yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Which I've talked about before with kids is like, there's a certain amount of vulnerability, which is like, it's that toxic vulnerability, right? Where like, I've done something wrong and now everybody's got to feel bad for me.
Right.
And so there's also this like double-edged sort of like, you want to encourage that vulnerability and those feelings, and you don't want to shut people down, but you also don't want to encourage any kind of like manipulative exhibitions as well. So yeah, it gets complicated.
I feel like that's almost the manipulative exhibitions are almost like a natural evolution where a kid just kind of comes up with it on their own. You just like babies.
Yeah.
Babies cry, the parent comes. Babies cry, parent comes.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could tell when a baby's fake crying. A baby will fake cry. You know what I mean? Like that's not taught. That's not learned behavior. They just they learned it on their own. It wasn't like taught to them.
And to be fair, I'm not saying that this guy was trying to manipulate. He probably felt genuinely bad, but like also it's a game and
right.
You know,
that's the whole point.
You did something wrong. You don't get to cry in the corner. You're playing a game. Like, but at the same time, that's what we're talking about, right? Like
right.
That emotional avoidance or that shutting down vulnerability. So it's like, I don't know. Like I do recognize myself a certain amount, but there's also an amount that I want to push back and be like, well, you can't just like, I don't know, you can't break down over everything, right? I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree. I mean, I don't really break down in general. Like there has to be like a pretty significant event for me to actually like really shed some tears. And I mean, I can count probably how many times that's happened. But again, going back to, I mean, I'm using emotional bottlenecking in a different way now. But like, I remember when I was 20 and our dog, we'd had him since I was like 13. And she was really, really sick. I think our neighbor may have poisoned her or something because she would annoy him. But anyway, she was really, really sick, and they were going to put her down. Maybe I've told this story on mic before. But man, when that happened, when my mom said we're going to do that, and my little sister and I were going to go with her, dude, I just broke down. I was crying because my mom's cousin was a vet, so we were driving like specifically to his place, which was like, I don't know, an hour drive, and I cried the whole way, and not even like like quiet weeping. I was like blubbering, crying the whole time, and like so much of that we didn't put her down. They put her down later when I wasn't around, but like I was crying.
Yeah.
And I was analyzing it afterward, like, and I have since then. I never cried. And I feel like I just needed a reason to do it. And I was genuinely upset about the dog dying, but like not that upset. Like that was an absurd amount of crying for this moment. And I think that was just like all pent up, and there was an outlet, and I took it emotionally. And I don't know that would have happened if I had been with like a bunch of men, but I was in a very safe place with my sister and my mother. But I wanted to ask you, have you ever directly been told that, when you were growing up, boys don't cry?
I don't think I was. And I was thinking about this as we were talking. I can think of times when I was younger that I cried, and I don't remember anybody. I mean, I didn't cry all the time or anything, but I can think of a couple instances where I was really upset and I cried. One of them was when a dog died, and I don't recall any kind of negativity around that, which is, I think, really positive. And it's the kind of thing that we try to also emulate with our kids. Luckily, we haven't had any creatures die around us. Not yet. We've got a couple fish, so
I was like, you don't have any houseplants?
Houseplants, we don't give names. Yeah. But we do try and like when there's like a really healthy display of emotion, we try and like reinforce that. And we try and also differentiate that from the times where we are saying like, hey, you don't get to cry about this. You were being a little turd. Like we try and differentiate and say like, we want to encourage you to show your feelings and to be so like, I think that's kind of where we split the line. And I think I didn't ever get any kind of explicit, we just didn't talk. We were like a real waspy family. So like emotions were relatively uncomfortable, but it wasn't like avoided. I could cry when it was appropriate, but like we didn't really talk about it that much. And,
Yeah.
but I never felt shamed, but I also never got like kind of emotional education either, I guess.
Sure.
How about you? Like it sounds like you were kind of in the maybe boys don't cry group.
So thinking about it, I think yes. I feel certain that I've been told boys don't cry by probably both my parents. But then I was also like, I don't remember a time. I don't remember like an example. But if I was, it definitely wasn't over like real tears. It was probably
Right.
some sort of like petulant tantrum I was having, and then it was
Right.
like boys don't cry, which is the wrong way to
Sure.
like what you said. You don't get to cry. You were being a turd. That's
Yeah.
healthy. but saying like boys don't cry, and again, I don't know that they did. I feel like they did, but I definitely internalized it. Whether they did or
Right.
not, it was like a part of my DNA. Like boys don't cry, and
somehow it was communicated.
somehow
if not
it
in
was
words,
communicated. If not by them, by the culture that I was in.
Yeah.
At that time. So I don't know. Have you ever told anyone to man up, or other than boxers on television?
I mean, I've definitely told people to man up, but I think I don't know if I did it in a way that was like you can't show emotions or anything.
Yeah.
It's more like hey, this is a challenge. You got to just pick yourself up and we got to move forward because this is how life goes sometimes. Is shit's hard. We acknowledge that it's hard. We can talk about it, but we got to pick ourselves up and move forward. So I guess I don't know how often I use the word man up. But
Yeah, but the sentiment at the very least.
the sentiment of just kind of like, yep, life's hard sometimes. We got to get up. It's why do we fall down, Master Bruce? So we can get back up from the Batman movies.
From Batman, yeah.
Got to bring comic books in.
Got to get one of them in. Yeah, I don't know that I have told someone so bluntly, but I don't think, much like my parents, I don't have a lot of patience for like petulance. And when someone's being a brat and they're faking it, or they're just being a brat, whatever. Like I wouldn't have resulted to like boys don't cry sort of thing, but I definitely wouldn't have had the patience to be like, let's talk about this, let's work out how you're feeling, sort of thing. It's more like a man up situation. But I can't think of a specific time where I may have been so short with someone.
I will say when you have kids, especially when they're young, like you do have to do that. And it's not just like you don't get to cry because of this. It is talking about like why are you feeling this way? You're feeling this way because you feel bad for you, which when you do something wrong isn't okay right now. Like you need to focus on what you did wrong and how it made other people feel. You have to kind of talk through all those emotional things and be a little bit more patient, which you don't always have the patience for as a person that's like squeezed on all sides. Like you've got kids, you've got money things, you've got time issues, like I have a lot of sympathy for parents that like aren't perfect. None of us are perfect. And it's really hard when you've got children that are like, you love a ton, but they can be extremely challenging at some times. So like being that perfect emotional teacher at all moments is just not possible, unless.
Yeah, I admire it, dude. I don't think I could do it. I think I've said before, there was a time when I had the patience for kids. I don't think I have it now. I think I'd probably lose my temper. I don't think I would be as cool as I was in my 30s or even 20s. I don't know that I've got I don't know that I have it in me to raise a kid at this point in my life.
Yeah, I think it comes and goes. I mean, like for me, I was real good when my guys were very young, up until like they were kind of reasoning creatures, like 5, 6. And then once they can kind of reason and like they start to lose a little bit of that excuse, you get more annoyed for a while. And then like they pop back around to where they're reasonable again and their minds are developing and like they have that frontal cortex going. And then it's like, okay, we're cool again. We can talk. But yeah, there's a couple years in there where it's pretty hard, and some people have the gift for it, but I don't know. It's hard. You do your best as a parent. Like even listening to this conversation, I'm like, man, we're throwing up this red flag quite a bit for like, if you're from, my son's generation, they're probably like, man up. Like you'd never say it. Like, like, or I don't know. Like there's things that we're saying that probably like for us feel very reasonable that for other people are red flags. So, I definitely put myself somewhere on the spectrum of this red flag, but I'd hope that I'm mostly not using this and trying to be reasonable with the way I interpret it.
Well, I think you're probably like I feel like I'm out. I'm out of the period where I would be telling somebody under my influence to man up or to like
Mm.
get over it, sort of thing. Because the only person that I would say that to would be my dogs or like Jody. They're the only things that I interact with. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't say,
I'd love seeing you do that to your dogs.
yeah, man up, dog. And I can't imagine ever like being so mean to Jody. You know what I mean? That's such a ugly thing to say to another adult. You know what I mean? But you, I mean, you've got children, so like it's. I mean, you're always on that line where it's like, man, I don't have patience today. Like, get over it.
Yeah. No, I mean, we definitely we try. I think we're always like we might deliver kind of that sentiment, but we're always more nuanced. Like,
Right.
we're practicing for this test for entrance exams with our son, and like when he has a bad day, his scores go way down. Like, it's like if he's just having a bad day, he does much worse, which is kind of like not out of the norm for people in general. And we're just kind of trying to say like, we love you. I understand you're having a bad day, but like you don't get to have a bad day on this test. Like that's not just it's just kind of not an option. You gotta just go in and do your best, even if you're having a bad day. And it's sort of that man up thing, but we're trying to like explain it from a reasonable situation and say, like, I sympathize, but like the world does not.
Well,
Yeah.
but you're explaining it. You're not
Yeah,
shutting
yeah.
it down. You're explaining
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's the difference. And all that's to say from prior, I definitely was a part of this red flag when I was a younger person. Definitely,
Yeah.
like I definitely emotionally shamed my peers, and can't imagine I would have done that to a woman because I was toxic that way.
Sure.
But to other guys, surely, yeah, get over it, dude. Like, shake it off, walk it off, be a man. Man up,
Yeah.
all those things.
Yeah, I guess I was always friends with women, so I I wouldn't have had a lot of opportunity to say this. Like when I was
To say,
working at
"Man up."
when I was working at Victoria's Secret, somebody having a bad day, I can't imagine me turning to a 20-year-old woman and going, "Man up,
Yeah.
man up! It's the semi-annual bra sale. This is no place for pansies."
All right, so we're also going to do, in addition to our red flags, like a petty red flag we personally each have. As you probably heard in the beginning of our episode today, was Skip's ears tucked into a baseball cap, which I think is hilarious. I'll give a petty red flag here. This isn't exactly manosphere. Well, it's manosphere. So I have an irrational anger when going to the movie theater and someone's talking and pulling out their phone or doing whatever. And it's been a long time since I've even been to the movie theater, so I can't say that I still have it. But like in the past, I would just stop enjoying the movie and I would just like obsess over this person, like looking at their phone, like even if the screen was dimmed or if they're whispering, I could hear them. I would obsess about it, and it would make me angry, and it was just completely unreasonable. So I'll call that my little petty red flag. If you know a person doing that, that could be a little window into how they're going to respond to something other that is not relevant or important at all. But yeah, I was an obsessively angry
Sure.
human being when sitting in the movie theater and somebody would talk or pull their phone out.
I mean, a certain amount of talking, like if you're leaning over and saying, "Oh, that guy is from this movie" or whatever. Oh, okay. If you're like having a conversation while the movie's going on, that's pretty rude. And
Yes, I agree.
yeah, I can see like if somebody's got their screen out the whole time. Movie tickets are expensive now.
That's true.
So like I get being upset. I wouldn't like obsess over it and be angry about it, but I'd be like, that's pretty insensitive. That's kind of a jerk move. But
It is,
Yeah.
but that's why you don't have this red flag, Skip. You're
Yeah.
you're healthy.
Well, maybe your real red flag is people getting out the phones and talking in movies.
Well, yeah, sure. There you go. That
Both of them. Yeah.
what a great spin. Yeah, if you're with somebody and they bust out their phone in the middle of a movie, that's how I should have worded it. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right, Skip. This isn't about me. This is about them.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, you don't want to be super angry about it, but also, people are paying to go see a movie. Don't be a jerk in the movie theater.
Oh, I like that so much better. Yes.
We don't have red flags. We don't
We're
have them.
perfect. We're perfect.
So for our main topic today, Outside the Manosphere is going inside the Manosphere. How does that even work, Carlos?
Well, Netflix released a documentary on March 11th called Inside the Manosphere, where a quite famous documentarian, Louis Theroux, went inside the Manosphere and he interviewed influencers on social media, several of them. For some reason, they agreed to it.
Yeah.
And so he went deep into it, and I learned some things. I'm sure you learned some things, and it's a lot worse than I thought it was going to be, actually.
Yeah, I think it was more or less exactly what I thought it would be. but I definitely did learn some things, and I definitely tried to take some things away from the documentary. You know, you're watching all these guys and you're kind of trying to analyze like what's actually going on here, because he throws a lot of stuff out there and there isn't like a really clean cut, clear narrative, I feel like, that comes out at the end. I mean, like, obviously it's like that these guys aren't great and there's really
Right.
problematic things going on. But as far as like, here's what's going on, and like, there's a couple things in there, but I felt like I wanted to try and get a little bit more and try and figure out like
Yes.
what was going on for myself. So I don't know, what kind of things did you take away that you weren't expecting?
Well, so first I'll say, you know what? Well, let's say a little bit about Louis Theroux. He's
Sure.
best known for his documentaries with the BBC. He had a show called Louis Theroux's Weird Weekends, where he would go into like specific little subcultural things like doomsday preppers, and I think the Ku Klux Klan was one, and then he went into like pornography. He didn't go into pornography, but he was in
Sure.
he documented it. Actually, he was in a porn. Part of I guess the agreement to perform or to do the documentary was him having a cameo in a gay porn, which I thought was really, really funny.
Delivering a pizza or what?
Yeah, something like that. He was a park ranger. He wasn't actually performing any sex acts.
Right.
He wasn't nude or anything, but he had a cameo, which I
Yeah.
think is really, really funny.
That's pretty funny, actually. Yeah.
Then he also interviewed, I think, British celebrities in a show called When Lewis Met ... And then there was insert celebrity. He had a couple specials on the BBC, and then I'm leaving out a whole lot of his.
A slew, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he's a well-known guy. I did not know that his cousin is Justin Theroux, the actor in.
He was in The Leftovers and Charlie's Angels, and
he's in Beetlejuice too. He was in Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice. So these Manosphere guys clearly didn't do any research on this man's portfolio, because if I were them, I would have been like, you know what, I'm not letting this guy anywhere near, because he often gives them rope to hang themselves, and he did just that inside the Manosphere. In a lot of cases, I think in some of those guys really stood firm, but
I did notice the way he interviewed was very interesting, because a lot of times, if it was one-on-one, he did just kind of give them rope. He would just ask a question and then they'd give some kind of quick, glib answer. And then he'd just kind of stay quiet and they would get uncomfortable with the silence and start saying more.
yeah.
And so like when he'd do it alone, that was like his tactic. But when there was somebody else there that he thought, like their wives or their girlfriends, where he thought he could get conflict, he was much more aggressive. And
well, he would zero in on the partners too.
He would zero in and he'd get try and get some crossfire going. And he was like successful at getting more conversation going in some of those cases.
Well, and I don't know that his intention, and maybe it was to get crossfire so much as it was to make the influencer react to what his partner was saying, because they were so domineering. And then suddenly you have the opinion of the partner coming out truthfully on camera. Well, they have to respond to that. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
But yeah, as you were saying, when he gives them the rope and then he just lets it hang there in the silence, their body language is really, really interesting. Especially that one guy from Florida who was just really gross. I mean, they were all really, really gross guys, but like the guy from Florida, they were clearly extremely uncomfortable when he would just let them sit there and what they just said. Their eyes would shift. They would shift on their feet. They were just like clearly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that was really fun to watch, because these guys outwardly appear to be extremely confident. They appear to really believe the things that they have to say. And I don't know that either of those things are true when you watch them on camera.
I think the main guy that they talked about, the HS Tiki Taki from the beginning, like The thing that was so evident as you watched this documentary was how wildly insecure he was.
All of
Like,
them, though, they
so
were all so
all
insecure.
of them, yeah, but especially he was. It was so clear how insecure he was because they kind of have, where the rest of these guys, he sort of interviews them. There was sort of an arc with this guy where he interviewed him and then he was like, "Oh, I can't be around you." And then he was back and then he was no, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a different thing out of this," and started like trying to blast the documentarian. But like you could see he'd get like he posted something online about this guy interviewing and people would say stuff and he just got in his head where he was I recognize this kind of feeling, not from like a comment on social media, but like from things in life where things were really serious, where you get like spinning and you're going all night and you're thinking about things circularly. And you could just see him doing this live online for days at a time. But it's not even about like nothing's happened. It's just like the insecurity about how he might be perceived.
Yeah.
And like it's really just a startling amount of insecurity.
Yeah.
Was very evident, especially in this guy in particular.
And the other thing that I thought was pretty stark was, and again going back to body language, was when he would address Louis Theroux, when he would address these Manosphere influencers partners, the amount of dignity you can tell that these ladies were giving up by having to sort of like agree with this ridiculous toxic stance. And some of them kind of didn't. They would kind of skirt around it, but you could see in their body language that one. So the one Manosphere, I forget where he's from. I forget his name. I don't remember anything about him other than he was one of the older guys, and he was very rich. And they signed a prenup before they were married. And this woman was a radiologist or something before.
Yeah. This is the guy that lived in Louisiana.
Yes. And so she gave up her career to be like a housewife and a mother, but she signed a prenup with him. And I mean, if he were to leave her, she would get, I mean, I'm guessing nothing. I don't know, but like, I looked at her.
Take care of the kids.
She'd get to take care of the kids. I looked at her as she struck me, and this is completely my interpretation of her body language. She looked like a person in a state of emergency who was never going to be financially secure, knowing she was financially insecure with this man that it was admittedly sleeping around to get his kicks, but he'd always come home. You know what I mean? She was okay with that because he would come home. She didn't look happy. None of the women looked happy. And to me, that also shone through. So that was another thing that really stuck out just visually.
Well, I think different people could come away with different on her interpretation because she did put out a pretty brave face, whether you're reading body language or not. I think you could read other things in there. But like what you're bringing up is kind of the thing that these guys propose is that women basically be in this situation where the men are taking care of them. This is kind of the danger of tradwifing, right? Is that you don't really have a choice. Right. You don't have an escape. Like you have no idea. But people maybe listening don't realize if you've been not working and you've been like tradwifing for years, it's really hard to go out and get a good job, especially a job that would maybe take care of you and like your kids. And if you have a prenup and you've got nothing else coming in, it's going to be damn near impossible. So as soon as this guy decides he's done with her for whatever reason, she's pretty much fucked. And, like you have a vested interest. It's like financial trap. You have to keep the person that's providing happy, which is what the guys want. They want to have this. They don't want to have pushback. They want to be like, yeah, you're doing all the work. You're doing all the chores. I'm providing the money, where this is a good situation for both of us. But it robs, in the way that we've talked about with previous generations, it robs women of choices in a lot of cases, and even the choice to express if they're unhappy.
Well, yeah, because that angers the boss, essentially.
Yeah,
and that's the whole. I mean, that's the definition of tradwife. We talk about the relationships in the past. That's the traditional, gender dynamics where the man goes to work, woman stays home with the kids, the man manages the finances, woman doesn't say shit about it, and that's what these people are trying to morph back. Some women are trying to morph that back into society.
But let's be clear, those women make a lot of money doing that. even though they're espousing not having jobs and relying on your husband, those women that are putting forth tradwifing, they are making a lot of money with a job as an influencer,
Yeah,
which
for
is
sure.
like that's Erica Kirk. And she's making millions of dollars running companies. Like she didn't ever believe this stuff. Like it's very clear.
Yep.
Like as soon as the opportunity came out and the narrative shifted, she was out there doing work that she wanted to do.
So your initial question was, what are some things that I learned? One big surprise for me, well, I guess it wasn't a huge surprise. I wasn't expecting the amount of notoriety these guys have. And when
Mm.
when they're out in the town, they're walking in the streets, like in New York. That one guy, I forget his name. Also, he had like a group of teenage boys like go nuts. They just saw him in the street and they swarmed him. And I was like, holy shit, this guy is like a legit celebrity to them. And they were like
Yeah.
super excited. They were taking selfies with him. And I was like, wow. I knew these guys were influential. I didn't realize they would get recognized in the streets. Like that's not something I knew some of them would, like Andrew Tate and Joe Rogan. That kind of. I guess
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that I would group Joe Rogan as like a Manosphere influencer.
He's a
but I guess
gateway.
yeah,
He's a
he is
gateway. Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, I just didn't expect them to be recognized like that in the street. That happened a lot to a lot of people, and they're like,
Yeah.
kissing the ring and saying, "Oh my God, you've helped me so much, and I've learned so much from you." And yeah, it was startling to see that dynamic with like legitimate fans.
Well, and I think this gets into some of the undercurrents that I'd like to take away from this is one, those legitimate fans were in most cases teenage boys.
Yes, I noticed that too. Yeah.
And there was actually a point at which the documentarian Louis Theroux said, most of your followers are 13 and 14-year-old boys. And the guy was really insulted.
Yeah.
But it's also very much true. And it's also something that you see, and this is something in a while we're going to talk about the Manosphere with a guest, but some of the gateways into the Manosphere are really, they're built for young boys. And there are countries like in Australia and some other countries that are starting to ban social media and some of these things for people under 16. We'll see how effective it is, but it's at least a first step. The thing that I thought, and I knew this going in, but I really, it hit home, is how much this is just a business to them. It's a pyramid scheme, except it's the shittiest pyramid scheme in the world, because nobody except the person at the top makes money. Nobody except the person at the top wins. And it really is a way of exploiting grievance and sadness and vulnerability and loneliness in men. And it just is sales. And like he even talked to that same guy, and he said, why don't you try being good? And the guy basically, he just says, well, being good doesn't sell. No scruples, no morals. And that's like the people at the top of these schemes, the people that are at the top of the Manosphere, they're just sociopaths. They don't care what kind of damage they do. They do not care about, like, they might say, I want to improve people. I want to make people better. So I'm offering this course, but it's all part of a sales pitch, and they don't care. Like they want to sell you a course that makes you into a more disaffected loser and makes you even angrier, and sells you some, snake oil that comes along with hating the world because it's being cruel to you, and it's this like feeling of victimization, and to borrow from our red flags, man up, guys. Stop being such victims. I mean, just deal with the world, deal with the reality, because they're really trying to share this like fake view of the world and an easy fix for it. And when it doesn't get an easy fix, it's somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
And but they're just doing it for money.
So one more observation that I made that I just wasn't. I mean, again, all these I knew, but it just really hit home watching it. Is one of these guys was interviewing. No, a couple of them were interviewing women,
Mm-hmm.
and they were so horrible to these ladies that my thought is like, what the fuck are these ladies doing on these podcasts? Like,
Yeah.
why? What the hell are they doing? And I guess what I wasn't expecting was like the desire for fame and clout and notoriety was driving these women to these like shitty men as well. Like they knew what these guys were about.
It's all about cross promotion.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and because these ladies were influencers as well. but
Yeah.
they're being called ugly, and like the one guy threw the woman out because she was too ugly or some shit like that. And it's just
Yeah.
like, why are you there? Like, why are you giving these guys any kind of oxygen? Because they're horrible, and they knew they were horrible.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting that. There's another surprise for me.
Well, I think, one thing, and as I said, I firmly believe that these guys are psychopaths. And I don't
Mhm.
mean like they're out there killing people. I mean, like they have no empathy and no moral compass. It's just like, this is about what I can get for me. And this is the way that I can do it.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons why I think and this is just a personal theory, why they're bringing women on and why they're so upset at them and why they're so upset at women doing OnlyFans and picking on women's looks and stuff is that there is a market. If you're a really good looking woman, you can go make money on the internet. You can
Yeah.
do OnlyFans and stuff. And I think these guys can't. And I think they redirect all that bitterness because they'd be happy to do whatever to make a buck.
Mhm.
And they can't do that. They are instead doing something far more insidious. And it's gross and it's dirty and they're hated by a lot of people. And I think they're taking it out on women that they're not able to have. I don't know, that they talk about how women's value is in their looks. And while that's not true, I think that's a jealousy that they have. I think it's a jealousy because they're like, I'm a good looking man. Why can't I get paid and invited places just for being good looking? And it doesn't make
Well,
for a good human.
and the other thing that they were equating manliness to was wealth. And like, oh, look, I'm a millionaire. I got
Mhm.
all this money, 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 money. That doesn't make them manlier. I mean, that wasn't
No,
something that I guess they would attract a certain kind of woman if they had millions of dollars, but I don't know. Like,
but
I don't
not
know.
the kind of women they value.
Definitely not. Yeah, you're right.
The final thing is about like the men that this is reaching out to, and what creates this situation. And a lot of it, because this isn't just coming out of nowhere. The stuff that they say is speaking to something. And so unless you kind of acknowledge some of that, you can't really move forward. And like one of the things that they talk about is like a 9 to 5 gig in a lot of cases, it's not going to do it anymore. Like it's hard to make a living. And these guys are feeling alone and they're feeling like they're pressed financially. A lot of these influencers were abandoned by their fathers. And it's like there's a lot of ways in which society has failed them. And I'm not saying it doesn't fail women, and women don't turn out nearly as dangerous a lot of
Hmm.
times as these men do, or they don't do quite as evil of a thing, as some of these men can sometimes be capable of. But there is something that these guys are hitting on, which is, they're oil salesmen, and they're saying, I'm going to give you the answer to making money and having connections
Hmm.
and all these things. And when it doesn't work, it's women's fault. So it's at the same time, it's like, here's the silver bullet solution. And when it doesn't work, it's somebody else's fault. But that's an easy sell for people that want an easy answer. And they don't want to have any blame on themselves. They don't want to be like, well, I need to get out and I need to be active socially and get involved and make friends. And there I'll meet women. And like, it's hard to make a living. And that's not my fault either. And in a lot of cases, it isn't. But
Hmm.
the mechanism is not the unfair mechanism, and the people to be upset at. It's not women. It's people running companies and billionaires exploiting workers and things like that, and politicians that don't care.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
like, it's much easier to just say, here, do this thing, and you're going to be successful. And when you don't, it's somebody else's fault.
And look how I did it. See, look at
Right.
me.
And it's an easy sales pitch. It's a
Mhm.
lazy, easy sales pitch.
Well, and
And
they had these
yeah,
attractive women on their arms too. Like that's the
right.
thing is there's always enough women that are willing to participate that it looks legit and it looks accessible and it looks like something that anybody can do.
Yeah. I think, this stuff isn't going to go away until we also deal with some of the underlying problems. And a lot of the underlying problems are inequity, which women have to deal with too, and they don't end up doing some of this stuff. But also lack of connection, which there's like a really strong growing body of evidence about tech companies and algorithms and the way that they know things are unhealthy, and they don't care that they're ruining lives and society and a lot of things. And just like, we got to get people interacting in a healthy way. So like, interacting in a healthy way and have a path out of poverty. That's what we need. But until those things get addressed, yeah, snake oil salesman's always going to have a place in our society.
Oh, they'll be around forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one's just especially damaging, I think.
Yes.
This one's like global now. So I guess my last thought on the documentary is one thing that I thought was pretty stark was that the manliest person in the entire documentary was Louis Theroux. That guy was cool. He was calm. He was not bothered when they would like snipe at him. And he would stand there, and he's not like a buff guy. He's like, he's a normal looking dude. He's little thin. His shirt looked oversized, and he's older. He was wearing glasses. But when he would just let them kind of sit in their silence of what they have just said, the one squirming was them. And he would just sit there kind of inquisitively, waiting for them to continue their thought. And they looked so uncomfortable. And it was a real sign of weakness if you're if you're gonna point out who's manly and who's not. This scrawny old guy with glasses was way outshined them in masculinity than anything they could hope for.
To put it in Manosphere terms, he was mogging the hell out of them.
He mogged them right out of the.
They looked like little boys next to him. Yeah. So keep on mogging, Louis Theroux, and go watch the documentary Inside the Manosphere on Netflix, recommended by Outside the Manosphere.
Yes, and we were first. We were here first.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Skip. Well, as always, we are entering our favorite phase of the show, and that is joys. So I'd like to know what your joys for this week are.
Well, my joy is part and parcel of being a stupid foreigner here. One of my joys is that I just found out that this placement exam that my son takes, he gets to take it twice, and he gets the best score on each of the subjects from the 2 tests.
Oh, nice.
But we didn't know this. We've gone to multiple information sessions. I've looked up so much stuff about this test, and they just like everything. Part of the thing when you're a foreigner is everybody just expects you to know how everything works because everybody's always done it.
Right.
And
right.
I had to look really hard for this information. And I just found out because he got his invitation to his second test date. And I was like, what the hell is this?
So he automatically takes 2. Doesn't matter.
He automatically, here he's taking 2. Yeah. And so that's thrilling for us because it's not as much pressure on just the one test. That's like a huge relief. So that's one. Another one is that the foreign police visited, and that's usually not good news, but they were checking to make sure that Jessica and I had a legit relationship because she's applied for citizenship over a year ago.
Okay.
And we made a little complaint that was like, we checked in on her case and it had been a year and they hadn't even assigned it to anybody. So we had the lawyer make a little complaint, and now the foreign police came, which means that she's moving through the process now, and they've, checked that we have a real marriage and real children, and
they'd like to see how many shoes you have in front the front door. Yeah. I remember they did the same thing for me when I was applying for a visa there with my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. So my joys are stumbling through as a Czech citizen that doesn't really know what's going on because I was not always a Czech citizen. Yeah.
Every day is a discovery.
Yeah. How about you? What are your joys for the week?
Well, I've got joys for this week and I've got joys for last week. So I'm going to be as fast as I can, but they have accumulated because we didn't do it last week. So first, my material joys are, I'll go in reverse order here. So just before we got online today, I went for a Facebook Marketplace pickup for a 1931 edition of H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. I used to collect copies of it. And the guy wanted $50 for it. I was like, "You take 25?" He said, "Sure." So I went and got this old school, pretty good shaped copy of The Time Machine. The paper's nice. The print is cool. Like it's illustrated in places.
Nice.
It was printed 14 years before H.G. Wells died. He wrote, what do you call it, the intro for that specific edition. So it was really, really cool. I value it very much. Second material joy is that Project Hail Mary, the movie, is out. That's been out for, I don't know, couple weeks here. I haven't seen it yet. I'm eager to. We're probably going to see it in the movie theater, which is a rarity for us. But I loved, I didn't read the book. I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook in itself was pretty great. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching that. Oh, last material one is that I sent you the link for that guy on Instagram who sings, he creates songs for his toddler's stories.
Oh, yeah.
So funny,
great.
so catchy. I've been singing one of them in my head for a long time. I've infected Jody with it. They're ridiculous songs, but they're super catchy. A lot of fun. I think I'll find a link for that so we can put it in the show notes. Okay, and then the good stuff I think is I have my grandfather's wedding ring with my grandmother's name. I don't have a wedding ring, so last time I was in Austin, I grabbed his ring that my mother had in her jewelry box or whatever. My grandmother's name is inscribed on the inside along with the date that they were married. And I just took it in to get resized. And the joy is that, for myself, and the joy is that I was talking to my mother about it, and she was really happy that I was doing it because she told me that she thought that he would have been really happy. And I was like, what? Like, I can't imagine him being happy about anything. And she was like, no, I think he would have really, really been happy to know that you're doing that. And I was kind of conflicted about it because he was a negative person and their marriage wasn't happy. But I was like, well, my grandmother's name is on the inside of it, and at least it's an heirloom of some kind. So, but to know that he would have been happy brings me joy. I'm like, you know what? That's something it's something for me. So yeah, that brings me joy. And okay, I'm going to be quick here. My last shift at work. So there's different types of help that we give to people to call an ambulance, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, I stubbed my toe, it hurts really bad. My perfectly capable adult partner here couldn't drive me to the hospital for some reason, so we called you.
Yeah.
Not really something that we even would transport them for, but like that's kind of a common thing. And other times it's just like, this is an emergency. I don't know what's wrong with you. Let's drive fast, and we go.
Yeah.
So, and both of them are not very satisfying because like I really didn't help the person other than we got them out of their house and drove them to the hospital right away. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know how they fared. I don't know anything about it other than like all I could really do was kind of give them a quick assessment, know that I can't help them with what's in my tool bag, and we got to go. But my last night shift was really, really busy. We didn't get any kind of rest, but man, I was a paramedic that night, and it was nice. We intervened, we corrected some medical issues that were happening to some people. Yeah, man, it was a really good night. And I entered this profession with like practicality on my mind. I'm like, it's a good job, it's a secure job, it's well paid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm helping people. That was kind of like a little bonus that I was like, yes, I'm happy to help people, but there's stability, it's good paying, it's a job, it's a career. But the last shift that I had was like, I've been high ever since, man. It was such a good feeling to not just arrive. We didn't even transport a couple of these people. We just like fixed them and then left. And yeah, man, that was a really, really, really uplifting feeling that I'm still kind of processing and then really, really enjoying. So I hope for a lot more of that. And it was really, really great. And my last joy is last week we met up to record and just kind of discuss stuff for season 2. And thinking about it, even right after, I was like, man, that was really fun. Like that, like just we recorded it for ourselves just so we could, in case there was some gold that would come out of it. But like, it was just a lot of fun, man. We laughed a lot, and there was no sort of format at all. And it was just, we were kind of teasing each other a little bit, and it was just fun. I had a really good time. And, part of that was re-recording our new intro and how we couldn't time it right. And it was just really, really funny. And for the record, whether or not there was a lag in our recording is inconclusive. I suspect that there absolutely was. Couldn't tell.
I might just be slow.
No, I don't think you're slow. I think there was a bit of a lag, which is hard to tell. But anyway, so those are my joys. I thank you for indulging me. That was a lot, but I had a lot to express.
Well, one, I wanted to tell you, I just bought The Time Machine.
Did you really?
Which I've never read, and it was because of you. It's not on the top of my list because I've got like a stack of books by my bed, but it's on its way up. It's on its way up.
Oh, dude, I love H.G. Wells, man. Like I've read several of his books and his short stories. Like he's really good.
And I'm really happy to hear about you having some good times at work. Yeah, like it's almost shocking to me that you didn't have helping people placed higher initially. Like, it just seems so inherent in who you are now to me that it just seems like it would have been a foremost conclusion or a foremost
So
priority.
it was there, but it was more of like, oh, I can do some good without being a part of a corporation sort of thing. That's
Yeah.
that was kind of, which I am, because I work for a company who was contracted by the government, but it wasn't like helping people. I don't know, man. It just didn't really hit home until my last shift. I'm like, wow, we really helped these people. And then like the people around them that were like freaking out. Yeah, it was just like, it felt really, really good. I mean, I know I already said that, but yeah, it did really, really hit home for me.
Well, I'm going to do something that I didn't discuss with you, and maybe I'd like to make normal, but I'd like to ask anybody listening, send us your joys. And send us your joys outside the manosphere at gmail.com. Maybe we'll read them. Maybe we won't. Maybe you'll just, maybe it's just a good thing for you to put it down in writing and send it out into the world and tell somebody, find somebody to exchange joys with, because it really is one of the highlights of our show for me.
Same.
Get into it, man. Just put your joys out there. Tell us your joys.
Tell us your joys. I like it, Skip.
Thanks for joining us. New podcasts every Wednesday. And if any part of this show has resonated with you, let us know at outsidethemanosphere@gmail.com, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Please like, rate, subscribe to the podcast YouTube channel, or recommend us to a friend. Hasta la pasta.
Mission accomplished. This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys grow their bromance.
Non-toxic bromance.
I can't, Skip. You have to cut me off.
I did. I hella cut you off. I cut you the fuck off, man. At the beginning of when you said bro.
No, I had stopped talking.
No.
I finished the word bromance, and I waited for you, and then you spoke.
No way. I cut you off right in the middle of that.
You did not.
No, dude. I swear, there must be a lag.
There's no lag, Skip.
I don't know what to tell you. I think you need to play it back. I think we need to play it back, because I feel like I'm jumping in way before you finish.
I would have to stop it. And play it. Okay, let's try again.